most recently in our adventure, we picked back up after the conflict with Morgan and the other Eladrin that were loyal to her in Kaer Methrin, and emerging from that fight successful, you all started perusing the valuables of the kind of abandoned cathedral, one of the only maintained buildings of that space. Uh, Pretty successful in some items that you were able to gather, while you're allowing Aeolas to grieve and tend to his sister and laying her to rest in some quick way. Um, then you also helped escort the unconscious Eladrin down below into some cell type rooms for Aeolas to deal with later. Then you settled in for a long rest. And Aeolas was successful in his attempt to search his memories within his trance to find the rituals, long forgotten memories that he pulled back up with ridiculous clarity. And he actually rose standing from his trance and casted the ritual magic still within his trance, rather unique. But it opened the portal to the peak of Galathor's branches. You bid farewell to Aeolas and proceeded into the El Tree's highest branches toward its center. And after some bouts of newfound flying, some conversations, and Rome communicating directly with the energy of Galathor, which guided her with wisdom through a grand vision, you then felt confident in leaping into the hollow core of this tree trunk of Galathor. And while falling, you fought one final obstacle, a mithril mask suspended and levitating in that space and gathering energy, binding it into a form, which you fought as this guardian of twilight was the final test to gain access to the planar travel. You defeated it, and in the ensuing eruption of chaotic magic, you landed harmlessly onto the soft earth of the Emerald Forest. And that is where we pick back up. As you now feel the cool, damp grass beneath you, somewhat dull in appearance compared to your recent experiences in the plane of fairy, but nonetheless, by all accounts, it appears you have made it home to the prime material plane. Successful in not one, but two interplanar transportations there and back successfully. It seems to be fairly pitch black outside as you steady yourself and look around. And Jiri, you probably have to snap on your goggles of night to get a chance to see. But it would appear to be in the thick of night here in Eridon.
Whew. Everyone make it out all right? Are we all, everyone feeling all right? You good? I guess, is everyone here, specifically Kinsalo and Alfie?
Kinsalo and Alfie have emerged with you, and actually, as you land and start to talk, I need everyone to please give me a wisdom saving throw.
Jesus fuck.
I do those in sleep.
Oh, baby.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Alfie does not need to make
for
one.
whatever reason, it's not going through.
Alfie does not?
Alfie does not need to make one.
Rome showed up on my D&D Beyond.
Yep. So you all arrive here safely, harmlessly, although your memories of your experience in the Feywild are somewhat hazy. Even if you can recall things, it's like you're trying to recall memories from years and years ago, not very clear, even if they were minutes and moments ago. Roulette. God damn it. That quickling. It got away so fast, and you feel like you guys have been searching it for hours and hours and to no avail. You're completely unable to find that gap in the veil to the Feywild you've been looking for. Although the forest does look a little different, but...
Did we make it in? We kept walking, what was it, west, like they said, to follow, but I feel like we're still in the Emerald here. Did we just like keep going to get into the Feywild or something?
What are you talking about?
the thing, whatever we were following, we had to follow it west at sunset or something. But I don't know, it's pitch black now.
I pull out my sword and illuminate it. And I want to go look at Roulette's eyes and see, and like start doing like field medic, checking for concussion. Did you
Sure.
I don't. We were walking. I didn't trip. I don't think so. That little bastard hit me once, I think, but.
Oh. Roulette, you're not gonna believe this.
There's a lot of stuff I don't believe.
I think Telperion would not be surprised by this since he's
Yeah, it's appropriate that this might occur to you.
Roulette, Jiri's going to tell you the best story of the time that we just spent in the Feywild. And unlike usual, it's probably going to all be true.
Is this from another one of his books or
No,
something?
we just go back. And we spent 4 days there.
From where?
When you go to the Feywild and you come back, you don't always remember the trip. Has anyone else here forgotten? Or does everyone remember?
I think Toby might pick up on everyone being comfortable around Kinsalo in Rome.
Oh, fuck.
Whereas maybe that isn't ringing.
Yeah, Roulette, there are two
Oh.
individuals in your party that... Who are those individuals? Where'd they come from?
Is this the guy we were supposed to say?
Do you believe us now?
Roulette, what are you talking about?
Are you're the prize son of whoever it is? You're Kinsalo? Is that who we're going for?
Yeah. Telperion, what's wrong with her?
Oh, check the chat.
Some people, including some people that
Some
I made roll,
people.
are automatically succeed the save.
Okay.
Telperion in Rome, even though I made them roll, have a natural resistance to this infiltration or changing of their minds. Kinsalo
trying to
is the
think.
same.
Did I do anything to Alfie over the past? Ooh, two things I want to ask about. Well, one, I'm always like looking at Alfie to check in something. Do I feel, because I went from, in my mind, I went from walking into the Feywild to walking here in a split second. Do I feel like, does Roulette notice anything feeling different?
Not yet. Nope.
Okay.
Other than your bruised hand, which all of a sudden started like being sore, but
I don't know what. Hold on one second, and I will go over and I will examine Alfie, and I will, because he's my prized possession, I will probably notice that a full half day's worth of work has been put into him. Telperion, at any point in these past 4 days in the Feywild, did you see me working on Alfie? Did anyone else work on him?
No, you did last night.
Interesting.
I was there. I held a flashlight for you, Roulette. You definitely worked on him.
I trust you, Jira. You're
Oh, you were
Definitely
probably
not.
taking notes, Roulette. Like you
Oh,
always do.
Oh, Telperion's got notes too.
I've got notes, but they're on the Jiri's. You got smaller too, and then grew again. We probably shouldn't lead with that though.
You say I got smaller.
Yeah,
I
I didn't really notice until Toby said something was wrong.
Christopher, I'm gonna have you trust me on this, and I'm showing Michael Jacoby right now. I have like a page of notes that I wrote in Roulette's notebook titled "Last Day in the Fae."
It's like he knew this was gonna happen.
I think that's very
like-
Roulette. Yeah.
It says anyone reading this is like Roulette's notes or something.
There's also a section for hand pattern, Fae bug sketches, and Jiri's fast flask is what I wrote as a thing on there. So with all of this happening, Roulette's immediately going to dive into her notebook and just okay, Tippy, I trust you. I don't like what happened, but I'm just gonna need some time to catch up.
You probably don't have that, but important note: we think we are right outside of where I'm at my home. That's where the exit.
We made our way to the Moonset Grove.
Yes. We think.
Good.
We think, but we just got here.
Okay. For reasons already stated, I'm gonna let someone else take the lead. According to my notes, you are Rome. Is that right?
That is correct. I am Rome.
I guess, pleasure to still know you. Apologies. I'm gonna try and catch up what I can from my notes. And Roulette's just gonna be walking head down in her notebook.
It's okay, Roulette. Memory loss happens to the best of us. I bet you Telpiron will be next.
I'm better than the best. So
I appreciate that, Jerry. I hope I stumble upon a book. Well, actually, I guess I have. I have stumbled upon a book that explains most of what has happened. So I just need to catch up with that.
You have some stuff in your satchel too.
I will go explore that in just a moment.
Be careful, there's a really special tapestry in there.
Don't you have to know what you're looking for in the bag of holding to get it out?
Yeah.
That's funny.
There's a special tapestry?
Yeah, we put the tapestry in there.
You put the tapestry in there, so you know it's in there.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Roulette,
I watch you put a lot in there.
Roulette, I think I can help you out with this tomorrow and get your memories back.
Toby, any sort of restorative mumbo jumbo you could work on my brain would be very much appreciated. But I'll go the old fashioned route of just reading about it for now.
That brings me to another point. Should I reach out to someone? I've got a spell slot left to. We could let Cork know. We could let.
No, I'd save it for now.
Jean Lavore.
I think you might find you. I don't want you to walk into a situation of where you might want or wish you had your power and not to have it. And we don't know where we are. It's middle of the night.
Actually, Telpiron, go ahead and make a survival check. Actually, this could be in nature. So use that roll, but use your nature.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. As you say, we don't know where we are. You look around, and actually some of the moss patterns and some of the way the dirt is brushed up against the trees, you actually get a sense very quickly that you do think you know where you are. Very well within the mythals that protect the Moonset Grove Ithinnyn. And based on this, if you journey a few minutes north, you might find yourself near the south gate.
Oh, I was wrong. We're right there. This couldn't have gone any better. We're 5 minutes away, maybe. I can't say. But we could go there right now. But I have to prep you first. Okay. First of all, Elvish. Gonna need it.
Yep. I got my staff.
They're not going to. You know how I'm bad at common. They're just not going to speak it for you. So Elvish. Okay. Second of all,
can you reteach me it within 5 minutes when we walk there, real quick?
You're about to just hear only Elvish, and so I think maybe that immersion will just wake up. However you knew it before. Do you think?
I mean, you taught it to me, so.
Okay. Well, as we go, I'll teach you some Elvish. Okay. Here's the other thing. Think about you'll have parents, right? Minus Rome. Rome, you excluded from this point for a moment. Each of you have parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have parents. And then there's another layer above that. And another above that. So just think about that. Think about how long it's been, right? Now, think about the amount of years packed in that generational knowledge, and then multiply that by multiply that by 5. You're going to a culture where people have lived that long and have knowledge bound up for that long. So I generally, they're going to probably dismiss you in some ways.
Okay.
And I just want you to be prepared to know that they will underestimate you at first.
Is this probably going to be like a speak when spoken to kind of deal at first?
You don't have to be chastened, but just know that they will underestimate you, and you can use that to your positional advantage. You know, I've learned a lot by traveling with you. I know you're a very capable group. But we also are about to speak to people who have power and are old on top of that. Remember how when we met Queen Elia, and how she was very intimidating? Picture like 5 of her, but they've lived like 500 years, and they're strong.
I thought we got past that with King Mordecai, but it seems like this is a further step up.
A little bit. All right.
It's okay, Telperion. I've been underestimated by an elf for the last month and a half or 2 months, however long we've been together, every single day.
About 2 months.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Jerry, this is gonna feel like home for you. Okay, last thing I want you to know. I personally am from a very my family's very well off, right? My mother rules the people. But there is a very different mentality among the Ithinnyn than you're used to. The Obrakai, what was that group you liked?
The Orokaba.
The Orokaba?
The Orokaba. You remember how they were like...
Business first, emotion second?
Yeah. Don't, under any circumstances, try to put your profit and your gain above the good of the others. That's how we work. It is like prime insult to put your own personal advantage over the good of the community. If you know one thing about Mooncrest elves, the community is life, and you take care of the weakest before the strongest. So just that mentality runs very deep. So I do think you will have profit, but let that not be on the forefront of your mind. I think that's enough of advice for now.
It seems like I might need to be recasting my spell with my staff. Do you want to let them know when we arrive that this is my buddy, he doesn't speak Elvish, he's using magical means to understand it? Because I don't want to roll in and start casting spells. I know that isn't the best.
Honestly, you might find that it's not as frightening to them as other less magically endowed people. But anyway, are we feeling ready? Are we feeling excited?
I would add that maybe perhaps we should show up with some gifts to offer them. I mean, I have never been here in this time. I would like to offer something to the Mooncrest elves.
That's a very good idea. We have the canvas, which I wouldn't have imagined selling to them since it's of Elvish history. But we have the statues in your book, Roulette. Which we could.
We do. Yeah.
We do.
Those 4.
And I won't cheat you out of the profit thereby, but by presenting those.
What all did we end up recovering from the Sun Elf Temple ruins? I think I've used both scrolls we got. I don't think we had many other mementos from it.
What I gleaned there, the information will be gift enough. And I do emphasize, whether or not I'm in trouble, who knows, by being, you will have my protection. And they will not harm you while I stand there.
Maybe we should put some of this Eladrin elf costumes on. Maybe some of their clothes will make us look more elvish and more cool.
I don't think any of them will fit on me, Jiri. They were pretty imposing figures.
I actually don't know that it would be wise to walk in wearing the garb of the Eldrin, but presenting it or saying like we hope to sell this to you, or give earn your good favor with this. Maybe you don't need to look elvish. I think they're going to be very fascinated by you.
Well, I would like to offer my abilities in helping them grow their crops for this season's harvest. Hopefully they would be receptive to that, you think, Telperion?
I think you will go over swimmingly, honestly. And I think that is a very wise idea. Consalo, my friend, who I've never seen in this world before.
Hey, yeah. I don't know if I'm getting cold feet or what this close, but I will try my best to just answer questions truthfully when I'm asked, but maybe you can lead introductions on my behalf with my home being what it is.
I promise you, I will do that.
Cloak to give him your wearing one.
I want to give him something probably, but I don't think I have it.
All right, into the darkened wood of death then.
Maybe a disguise would help. I still feel like I should put something on.
Why?
Well, you said not to be myself, so I don't know who else to be.
Okay, how about this? I got it. Jiri, don't be your usual self. Be the most polite self you can imagine. Courteous. Truthful.
This poses a kind of a catch-22 question to me, because I feel like Jiri's got an amazing imagination, but also I don't know that that comes into his imagination of politeness.
Jiri, I feel like he would also say, those are like the 3 words that like best describe me, so like...
Okay, I want you to know one thing about my mother. If you lie to her, she will know. You can get away with nothing under her eyes. You don't usually lie, but your stories
I never
are
lie to friends.
It's true. Your stories are hard to believe. I just want you to be prepared for a very, very wise person to be studying you.
Okay, I'm nervous. Consalo, I'm gonna hang by you, because you look nervous too.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy. Telperion, he's got us.
Okay, hopefully. Well, you watch my back, I'll watch your back.
Yeah.
I will take my glaive off my back, and I want to give that to Consalo. Because that's something that came with me from the moonset, and it's of the moonset. It's one of the few things I have that is like that.
He will gladly take it and put it on his back.
Moonset, Crescent Knight, the usual. That would be like the most, like, let me give you the most elite secret. You know what I mean? Are we ready?
You just hear Roulette say, "What the fuck is a dolphin river?"
Ooh, Roulette,
amazing.
I gotta fill you in on all the details. There's a lot of gossip that happened that you probably didn't write down. I'll share it with you as we walk.
No, I gotta share Elvish with you as we walk, Jiri.
Oh, that too.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna walk him in, and I will just start trying to speak to Jiri in Elvish.
I'll say it's up to Tim, but if you want, Jiri could make a charisma saving throw to try and overcome his own DC, if you would like.
Yes.
+9.
And Jiri starts to pick Elvish back up.
Oh, thank Christ. I mean, they say I need.
Thank Melora.
Jiri, as you start to slowly understand words once more in Elvish that are being spoken by Telperion, voice in your head kind of creeps in and says, "Well, that is fascinating. It would seem you're able to pick up traits from your inner mind, buried deep We should discuss this someday.
Sure, Dad. We can discuss it later. I gotta keep learning Elvish though.
Be careful, Jerry. And you feel it fade away.
Does Jiri say that out loud?
I was wondering that too.
Yes.
That does.
He just says, if he's talking to Topir and he goes, I got it, Dad.
Rome's gonna side eye him and like just kind of say under her breath that there's something wrong. There must still be something wrong with him. But Jiri, just nothing seems right.
Rome, if you want, you could make a quick insight check. And I won't give away Jiri's own mentality. That's for Tim to decide, but I might give a little bit of something.
It rolled a 14. It showed up.
I
Right?
see. It came through. I think Jiri's DC of passive deception or persuasion is high enough that this individual Jiri's still weird, still hard to read this guy. Nothing quite valuably gleaned from that. But you all continue pressing forward for a few moments.
I tell Roulette all about how I flew and was like, I go into great detail about like soaring through the air and whatnot.
Very cool.
Oh, Telpiron flew too, but it wasn't that exciting.
Did you help him?
What?
Did you help him fly?
Yeah, of course.
It's very kind and benevolent of you, Jiri.
I know.
You were flying like this?
It was great, Roulette. I know you don't remember me quite yet, but we're buddies, I promise. It was great. They were both soaring. I could barely catch them even with my wings. They started plummeting out of nowhere, almost died, but I think they course corrected at the last possible moment. Yeah, hopefully you can remember that someday.
I think there's a reason I don't take notes on those parts. Ooh. Well,
And now,
lead the way.
as you guys continue forward, stepping along, who would you say is in the rear of this party, this cluster of people that are moving forward?
I'm gonna be in the back just because like Rome's roots and stuff kind of have to snap, and she has like a wider kind of area that she takes up.
Okay.
I'm in the middle because I'm still reading, and I need to make sure there's someone in front and behind.
Well, Rome, with your passive perception being what it is, as well as Toby, who's a little ahead of you, but you all notice, Rome, you are stopped in a moment. And Toby, Rami, you have this sensation about you, this sixth sense, if you will, and you stop, the hair on the back of your neck standing up, and you turn around. And Rome, what has stopped you is the silent stepping footsteps and a silver long curved blade of an elf holding it gently against you. And he immediately says, Daro, manenas. Stop right there. Who goes there?
Len Suilanon. Topirian. Let him not Aranil. Which means
Segalon,
I give
Arian
you-
Telperian, Ion Vierinil, Preserver's Grace, Master Loonsong. I rejoice to say that Prince Loonsong has returned. Quick, what's her name? Moallen, see to it that the regent and the Aranil and the general are alerted immediately. And you hear darting ahead of you over top in hidden tree cover, the rustling of branches as some unseen elf is gracefully leaping northward and then disappears.
Do I know this one?
Yeah, this is an elf named Farhan, one of the Selethar soldiers of your father's command. And he says, Telperion, Man Leath, who walks at your side?
Then I say, Menina Athlon would so I've been saying I give greetings to you, and I'm taking friends to see the regent, my mother. These are companions I have acquired, and we just were we're in the area. Sought to stop by. It's been too long since I was here, and I had much to share.
Yes, we were not sure how long you'd be gone. All of this in Elvish. Some of the Selethar have even been placing wagers on your return. Matter of when, not if, of course. But it is a wonder to welcome you back. Strange company notwithstanding.
Do you profit by my return this day, or did you lose?
I profited, Prince.
Fortunate then. Yes, would you care to escort us?
Yes, of course. After 2 moons away, it is great that we have the ability to welcome you back so soon.
2 moons? 2 moons only?
Yes, just since you departed in Hearthfire.
Today's date is, of course,
22nd, Middas, 22nd of Sun's Dusk. And now if you put that together, your 4 days of Feywild travel have equated to roughly 4 hours of real time. So you find yourself in the night only hours later than your entrance into the Feywild.
I am whispering over to Tilbury. Did he just say Middas? I thought you said we were going for 4 days.
Yes, although judging by the position of Selenix's light this night, it would seem that we're perhaps less than an hour away or so from Turdas, 23rd, and only 2 days away from a full moon at that. But anyway, please let us be onward. We will shepherd you to your father, and they will figure out what it is to be done with you all. This individual, rather warm, friendly.
And can you write his name in the chat?
Farhan.
Okay.
Farhan. We're walking into the Moonset Grove in a full moon.
2 days away from a full moon.
Woo!
Yes.
Party!
And I'm gonna just chat with Farhan. I don't think we can skip past this. I'll say, as we're walking in, tell me, how have things been in these past 2 moons?
Well, things have been busy as usual. At least for the common populace, not much has seemed different, I imagine. But to those of us that keep close company with more of the elite council members and your father and the like, there has been an increased sense of friction, especially among the diplomats and ambassadors and dignitaries. Often found bickering, as word filters down, seems to carry enhanced frustration and anxiety between members. Although I hear the efforts in the Eastern Wood fare well so far, so the establishment of House Thantuar and the Eastern Emran continue to prove prudent and valuable. But
And who's the friction generally between? Do we know?
you know how it is, the various council members rubbing elbows and disagreeing on matters of how to next move forward, what next cultural project to embark upon. Just generally stranger in some way. I haven't been privy to some of the inner conversations, but I will admit your father has seemed less cheerful as of late. But please, onward. We are just about to enter. And he slows his pace, almost indicating like there's something in front of you all, but you just continue to see forest. And as you follow his footsteps, he turns back to all of you in Elvish. Well, travelers, consider yourselves fortunate to be at the prince's side this night. For seldom are non-elves permitted to approach through our veils. And as he turns and walks with his back towards you, he just disappears. And as all of you display puzzled looks on your faces, potentially, you probably catch a subtle smirk from Telperion as he confidently continues to stride forward and disappears as well. And encouraged by that, if you all step forward, A shimmer appears in the space in front of you. The illusory terrain of this mirage facade pulls back, and the landscape before you changes. The environment immediately shifts, and you see more signs of civilization. Torchlight, branches that curve and coil around stone structures and that are built into this forest terrain. You walk forward for another 5 minutes or so, past clearly paved stonework pathways, before emerging to a gate-like structure. And as you all arrive at the southern gate, southwestward in this city map, you continue through those archway gates that are adorned with torches, but not flickering with normal yellow-orange flame, but silvery blue-white flickering fire. You walk past this kind of corridor through this gate, and you pass outside the windows. You can see a massive 70 or 80 foot tall stone marble fountain structure, like a statue of a beautiful elven woman figure that is cradling a bowl in her hands that is overflowing into a pond below that catches the moonlight and gives an illusion that she is literally pouring out liquid moonlight into the below landscape. You continue on, led into the city, and beautiful emerald and jade colored roof tiles of metallic make atop stone structures, all as kind of labeled here at the top of this map. All of this built beautifully, intertwined with the forest landscape. A similar type of harmony as what you had seen in Kilodine of the Bird Folk, but very much more majestic and grand here in the Moonset Grove, Ithinnyn. Curving stone archways entangled with this natural forest, verdant grounds that thrive, and you continue through this expanse. And I thought I had another picture to pull up. You pass the great halls of Fairy, where individuals seem to be coming in and out of as some sort of leisure activity is happening within. You pass, I think that's all I had for this moment, but you continue moving forward and approach, after a while, the tallest and grandest tower of this grove, off in this direction. Telperion, you know to be Nightlamp Palace. And as you approach, you immediately notice 9 figures walking in disciplined haste down the helical staircases and out to ground level, walking directly toward you. 8 of these figures, 4 on either side, walk purposefully and gracefully in a spread formation, flanking the man walking just ahead of them in the center. And as the Selathar Ranger, Farhan, at your side continues their face forward, they slow for a moment, and the group in front of you approaches and slows as well. Most of this new group appears to be comprised of similar Selathar warriors as those, the one at your side, but the individual at the center holds a more regal bearing and displays a beautiful and unique folded proper jacket. He is clearly adorned in more fine elven attire compared to those he leads at his side, and stands with such confidence and poise that it immediately bestows on him an air of certainty and wisdom. And though his mooncrest elven hair is dark, like virtually everyone you see in this space, as you catch some glances from the nearby populace of the pale-faced, dark-haired elven individuals, this man's facial structure has an unmistakable similarity to the silver and white-haired mooncrest elf at your side. He greets you all with a firm and forceful Nathan Sador. At attention, soldiers. And the Farhan immediately straightens up, and Telperion probably innately does as well. But Telperion, you might even have a moment of confusion and concern at his seriousness and stoicism in this moment, until a gentle smile of amusement leans into the face of your father, Maethros, verdant lord, general of armies, and commander of the Selethar warriors. His rigidity immediately melts a bit as he walks up to you, extending an arm for a greeting, and then pulling you in for an outright embrace. Megavonin Nolian.
Adar. Galen, Father, I rejoice to see you. I have much to tell you,
Galen.
and I bring interesting company. I hope they are welcome.
Galen, I rejoice to see you as well. Well met, my son, and it brings me great joy to see you return home. Ithinnyn has missed you.
And I missed it.
He looks past you for just a moment to regard your strange company and says, Ei nafla menin vi Telperion, and cordial greetings to you, allies of Telperion. And Telperion, although all of you, even Toby with your enhanced comprehend language is up, though all of you speak Elvish, Telperion, you do know a slight sting as the language your father is using is very evidently, though not surprisingly, warm toward you, but rather reserved and careful and guarded towards your friends rather than true welcome. But he regards you and says, well, I have already sent the courier along to notify the Aranil, though she is currently locked in debate with the Mooncrest Council in their chambers, even so late an hour as this. And then he turns, resting his arms behind his back, interlocked in a disciplined bearing, and tilts his head for indicating for you all to follow him.
And I wait.
Shall we?
I feel like I ran up to, hug him. I refuse to move, and I wait for my friends to join us, and then I'll go forward once they've caught up.
He notes they're catching up to you, and you all are able to proceed behind him. And he slowly starts leading the way up once more through the helical staircase up to Nightlamp Palace proper. Well, tell me what you can. We should discuss at length later. But what tales do you bring? Have you been successful in your ventures? I know 2 months is even more than enough time for you to be separated from us, but at the same time, I figured you might be gone for longer.
Does anyone know that I went with your private blessing?
He looks around at the Selethar warriors that are encompassing your party, and he says, some have suspected something similar.
I am curious if what stir I created by leaving. And I do have much to share, and in some respects I come with successful news, although, as you know, 2 months is not enough to find a people lost for thousands of years.
Yes. Well, you are correct, though. It would seem that the actions and interests over the last few years of a renegade young elf that recently just left has stirred up quite the topic of debate across our entire culture. Many admire his devotion to his lost cousin kin and rally to the interests of finally breaching out into the worlds outside our Emerald homes. But many still hold fast to our culture's prideful and lasting position of isolation in these lands. I do not blame them for it. Our culture has thrived and flourished for millennia. You know my thoughts on the matter. But our home has seen unquestionably less bloodshed than the formal nations of Eridon, and it is difficult to open the minds on a grand scale. Yet your actions have begun to chip away at the dams, it would seem. But not without consequence. Let us on. And he continues to walk up the stairs through a beautiful, sprawling, and opulent main entrance to this keep Loonsong, Nightlamp Palace. And over the next couple minutes, he diverts you through a couple corridors, past a grand hall and a banquet hall, up spiraling tower staircase, and eventually you all arrive at a rather high elevation chamber of this building structure, and therefore probably very high up in the city in general. And Mathros unlatches your own personal room, Telperion, and swings it open, allowing you all to step in. Noel Eon, my son, I will have cheeses and herbs and breads brought for you and your party, and I gladly give you the opportunity to rest. I will, of course, want to talk at length in the near future, but in trust, I fear we do not have that luxury at this very moment. But I thought we might put the lot of you up in your antechambers for at least a short while other rooms are prepared. I have a few things to attend to over the next hour or so, and it is unlikely that the Erinil herself will wait until morning to greet you in some way. So, do not give in to fatigue yet. Myself or my Selethar warriors will retrieve you soon. And then he seeks to start backing away and making his leave.
I'll kind of like walk to the door with him as you guys start to settle in. And I'll say, what should I prepare?
That is yet to be seen, my son. It is difficult for me to anticipate how people will adapt to your arrival. I don't mean to understate the stir you did cause. And though many agree with your well-meaning intent, there are those that took it as a sign of betrayal, of rejecting our culture and reckless abandon. But those conversations can follow later.
If I need to explain myself, should I leave your name out of it? Or shall I use it? I can do it.
Speak as your heart commands. Nothing I have done should be shrouded in secrecy if you feel it is right to bring up.
Okay. And I'll give him another hug before he goes.
It is good to have you back, Eon. I fear I do note that the sword I gifted you does not appear to rest upon your back. There's likely a tale to be told there, I imagine.
And I say, Adar, look, and I pull out the new sword. I'm like, isn't it beautiful?
Indeed, it carries beauty.
And I can tell you, I do believe the sword you gave me was stolen by a king himself.
Something of the sort. And I will have to tell you at some point how I won it from Chiron Allspring. But we will get to that some other time.
I imagine the seed of guilt that has been blooming these past months will grow to full blossom when I hear that story.
Perhaps. Well, let us not chalk it up to a lost cause quite yet. Alas, I mean to reunite you and your sister as well, but I suspect she has retired to her chambers for the night. Although, knowing her as the both of us do, I think her studies might have prevented her from resting as of yet. But you all get some rest in your chambers. Conversate amongst yourselves how you wish. I will send up attendants in the near future with some refreshment. And with a smile and a nod, he backs away. Warm, but just his posture and his poise just unbelievably regal. Just dripping with command. But you are all left, as the door closes behind him, you are all left in Telperion's bedroom foyer, free to chat amongst yourselves however you wish.
This couch is pretty comfy, Telperion.
The second the door closes, I start using my hands and I start pulling my armor off, and then like pieces of it are just levitating off of me and like unhinging, and like I'm trying to get this armor off as fast as possible.
Jerry, get your feet down. We are in the antechamber of the High Prince Loon Song.
Oh, I didn't even realize how dirty my boots are. Whoops.
Yeah, Jerry, maybe I'll let you wear mine.
Yeah, the beautiful high thread count quality silk or velvet rug under you definitely has some imperfections now.
What's in this thing? It looks tasty. Can I eat stuff?
Anything in here probably hasn't been. They're bringing us real food in the secondary.
Oh,
You shan't go hungry here.
I guess this isn't food. I don't know what I'm looking
Hey,
at.
so that went pretty good so far, I guess, right?
My father is the warmer of my two parents, for the record. So yes, I was worried I would have to do some very sweet talking. I didn't doubt they would let us in, but I thought it might be a chillier reception. But yes, welcome. And I want to take Toby and throw him at my bed to like help. Like just like I want him to like. I'm just so excited to be home, and I want you guys to get comfortable. So like I'm trying to get his armor off as fast as possible. And I say I'm never appearing in front of the Council of Elves in this Durastian armor. But is there anything you all need?
Oh, I forgot you were wearing Durast.
Oh, the custom Durastian armor.
Yeah. No, it's not good. It's not good.
No.
And I will go to my. I assume I have like. For us, like a chain shirt, or like I just go get like
wardrobe, some fine elven attire, of course. Yeah.
And I'll go behind a screen to do most of the changing.
Yeah. Well, your father definitely commands the room a bit, and his presence clearly carries a lot of weight. If it was such a warm reception when you thought it might not be, but hopefully that continues, I guess.
Kinsalo, would you like me to send a message to Korik or any of...
Yes,
anyone?
Please alert him that we're...
Or someone else, like...
Maybe
yeah, no, he would be great to contact. I would just want to word that carefully because of our current location.
Yeah, I could leave location out of it. Just, like, explain we have exited the Fey Realm. You are in safe company, and we will return at our soonest capability.
That would be amazing. Yeah, if you could reach out, I would love that. And I know he would appreciate it. And word will travel quick to the Herald. And yeah, it'd be good for them to know as soon as possible.
Toby starts getting a scrap of paper out and jotting down 25 words.
Kinsalo, why do you feel as though you wouldn't necessarily be welcomed here? Why don't you want to let your presumably family, loved ones know where you are?
I do the same.
Yeah. Kinsalo and Telperion back to back do an anime like Rome, I guess we met you after we've kind of hashed some of this out, but Telperion's culture of the Mooncrest Elves here and my people, the bird folk back home where I'm from, have a bit of a tumultuous history. And it has included violence and bloodshed and death as well. I think the fact that Telperion and I've bonded so much over the past couple days or hours means more than I think either of our cultures might immediately accept or acknowledge. But I'm personally invested in doing what I can to repair those tears. But suffice to say, our history is complicated, and both of our cultures might not react well to each other being in the other one's home.
Our reception was chilly and Keeler-Dean.
I mean, it seems a little silly to me that two races would hate each other when instead you could love. Are we meant to hide you, Kinsalo, here in plain sight?
Absolutely not.
Kinsalo just shoots a glance toward Telperion as you're saying those things and is relieved and thankful and has a smile come across his face when Telperion says absolutely not.
We have nothing to apologize for. I have nothing to apologize for, regardless of how vehemently I'm scolded in a little while. And I will not simper at the feet of my people and hope they excuse anything. We have a wonderful opportunity here, and I will be presenting it to them as such.
I will, in the corner, cast my sending spell.
Yes.
Korik! We have exited the Feywild, Kinsalo in tow. It's a long story to tell, but we make our way back as soon as possible.
Toby Rama, it is fantastic to hear from you. My heart rejoices to hear that Kinsalo is safely with you. Please, make your way to Kilodin as soon as possible.
I'm gonna try. I turn and go, oh, Jerry, Korik says hi.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that Jiri said hi, but I'm glad he said it first.
He must have been on his mind.
Makes sense.
Amazing. Well, after a few moments, not moments, but 20 minutes or so, you do hear a at your door, Telperion.
I mentally open it from wherever I am.
As you do, I know I have their names. Oh, Ithal, an attendant you know from around the palace. Greetings, Prince. It is great to have you home. I have brought a spread. Here, would you accept?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And he hands you a beautiful, intricately carved around the rim with elvish iconography, this beautiful silver platter with an array of vegetables, cheeses, herbs, and kind of caramelized bread crisps. Noticeably no meats, but
Thank you very much. And I give it to Jiri.
Yeah, I'll take that Telperion right here.
And Telperion, as they kind of take their leave and exit, you do notice that there are 2 Selethar soldiers just posted outside your room, which is unusual. Perhaps they're just defending the room of the recently returned prince, but it's slightly disconcerting. It's not something that usually happens.
Clocked.
But the door shuts and you have your refreshment available. And if any and all of you want to take a short rest, this is absolutely adequate time to do so. And you guys can have any conversations you'd like to, or really anything you want to do over the course of an hour or so.
Jerry's gonna head back to the couch with a platter of food on his lap and legs up on your coffee table, and he's gonna ask Telperion, so Telperion, tell us about your hometown. What do they do for entertainment here? Like, what kind of fun can we get into?
Fun. Oh, roll hit dice. Sorry, I was trying to short rest. Okay. Anyway, I'll do that in a second. Well, the Fairy Hall, was that what it's called? The Hall of Fairy?
Halls of Fairy.
Halls of Fairy are a storyteller together to share history and stories of Elvish lore. I imagine they would be very curious to hear the tales of Jajiri there.
I could perform there?
Possibly. Yeah. You could perform there. And we have taverns where you could go and try your hand at winning over the hearts of some Ithinnyn. And this is, I will let you know, this is currently the resigning capital of the of the Ithinnyn as a whole, because my mother is the current ruler of the Ithinnyn. So the Moonset Grove is the home of the Nimberthil, which is my house.
Right.
There are several houses. The council has a member from each house.
We were planning to arrive where? What was it again? Where we expected to show up?
To
the Tiara.
You thought at first you might end up in the Shade Murk region of the Emerald Forest, which is the home of House Tiarlin, the Forest Watch Elves. But this is more northward than that, a more ideal landing location.
And the elves there are the same like sub-race as Talpirion, correct?
Yep.
Different house.
They just hold different
house.
houses, great houses, if you will. But yes, all the same race, all Ithinnyn Mooncrest elves.
And all this is Toby addressing Talpirion. So like Tiarlin are like subject to your mother, though they remain separate in a way.
Yes, there are several houses. The Tiarlin in common the Forest Watch. So some of them would be where is my list? I have a list of the different houses in several locations. Some of them would be the Flamewood Elves. I'll say this in the comment.
Ashwood, but yep.
Oh, Ashwood. And then the Chomgaze, the Forest Watch, Dream Echo, Sunswift, Cold Vale, and my people are the Silver Birch. Chomgaze.
I knew that. I don't know why.
So the council is made up of representative from each house, and then my mother is the House Nimberthil representative. So she does have power as the queen, as the Aranel queen, but also must make decisions with the council. Another member of the council is the commander general, which is my father. So when Loonsong is absolutely the most influential house of not only the Nimberthil but the Ithinnyn, because my mother and father are both on the council.
Oh,
yes, and yeah.
Talpirion, your father used a title, I think, the Aranil.
The Aranil is my mother. That is Queen Regent, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Aranil.
Is there a correct way to address her?
Aranil alone would be sufficient, I do believe.
Oh, Talpirion, where's your sister? We haven't met her yet.
I imagine she will be stopping by any moment. I don't know. I don't want to leave you here to go find her.
Do you have a portrait of her? A portrait of your family in here by any chance?
Yes, on the wall behind Toby.
You probably do.
Yeah, there's a portrait.
Yeah.
You can go look at me.
And you see a slightly younger Mathros, still regal, rugged, beautiful, handsome elf with his dark hair curled and beautifully poised to the side. You see Minerva, rather similar in facial bone structure to Talpirion, but dark hair, and beautiful. And you see their mother, Tenufael, posed in such a proper manner that it almost gives you chills looking at her through the picture. Not cold in her own right, but just so dutifully bound and holding such a composure that it is a little jaw-dropping, though she seems to be in somewhat casual wear without any clear indications that she is Aranil in that family portrait.
This is a Toby internal thought. Now seeing the portrait, have we seen any silver-haired elves in the Moonset Grove?
As you guys have approached, none.
Gotcha.
Jerry, do you have any other questions about the Moonset? I probably could answer more. I'm just not sure what you want to know.
Ooh, where can we go to a bar or something like that? I feel like we could all use a drink.
Well, I'll pull you guys back to the Moonset Grove map, and as Talpirion could describe to you, there's a couple locations that might be of note. For example, he had previously described the Great Halls of Fairy, a beautiful, opulent manor that holds more refined opera or Broadway type production, orations and plays. But there's also this beautiful location in the center, where streams of particulate moonlight energy just seem to stream through in various routes throughout the whole Ithinnyn Moonset Grove, and gather into this tree that acts as like a beacon. And this is, let me change that. That would be the Moondrop's Cradle Amphitheater right in the center, where there's more casual, if you can call it that, plays, like almost Shakespeare in the Park, but hundreds and hundreds gather there every single day and night. There's Canopy's Crown Winery and Ale House, which has various meads and wines and ales. There's even the Star Ripple bathhouses that exist, a rather opulent and refined opportunity for luxurious indulgence. And aside from that, in this kind of central hub of the Moonset Grove, Ithinnyn, many, many grand keeps and embassies where various house leaders and their families have some version of occupying within this city, even if their home city is elsewhere in the Emerald Forest.
Christopher, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the Emerald. Main characteristic of the Emerald: super tall trees, very thick canopy. Is there like a canopy above these buildings, or
above the entire city? There are probably various gaps where the trees are letting in moonlight, where moonlight does reach this city.
But for the most part, it's still covered.
But for the most part, still canopy covered.
Jiri, you're probably right. Telperion sleeps what, 4 hours a night? Last call's got to be like close to dawn. Someone's still got to be up.
But a bath sounds amazing right now.
That does.
Oh.
Telperion is in the corner, like taking a dry bath, like trying to like make him like. I don't know if you characters have caught on that Telperion's kind of vain, because we've been rugged, like out in the rugged area a lot. But like you're definitely see him getting more ready for anything than you've ever seen him get ready before. Sure.
It's like a telekinetic brush going through your hair.
Sure. Yeah, my hair's pretty long, so sure.
That makes.
But after you guys are able to,
I do pull it into like an Elvis braid.
Very cool. You guys are able to settle in over the course of an hour or so, snack on some refreshment, share conversation. And as someone is talking, all of the torch sconces suddenly flicker, and their standard yellow flame begins to swell and sputter. And with a flare, they rapidly transition to the silvery blue-white fire of moon flame that you've seen in your approach into this location. And you hear a voice call out from the foyer door. Ethal, Neidra yon denens. Telperion, the strikingly familiar voice of Minerva, almost natural to you as the sound of your own, permeates the antechamber. And as you rush over to a balcony to see your sister, you see that she's adorned in not the typical regal elven day attire of someone who attends court and walks the grove for diplomatic interests, but the exceedingly fine, opulent nightwear of someone who likely did not waste a moment to try and change into more formal apparel. She seemed to have rushed here upon the first instance learning of your arrival. But the rest of the party probably wouldn't know that, as the robe seems to sparkle with diamond reflection, and the silver and golden filigree adorn its length, and atop the clavicle still radiates splendor. And unsurprisingly, she carries a small tome in one hand on her side, and like the current source of moon flame that flickers within the other torches, she holds in her hand a small mote of flickering blue, white, silver flame before dismissing it.
I run over so fast and I just pick her up in the biggest hug ever.
She laughs and accepts it. Si Megavonen. Manliath no Moindor, who are you with this night, my brother?
Did you get my message through my friend here?
Your message? I can't say I did.
Must not have worked then. I tried to contact you. Here. Oh my god. It's so good to see you. Come meet them. These are my
Yes, of
friends.
course.
Very dear friends. Who would you like to meet first?
Who runs up to her first, or like wants to be introduced first? Because she'll probably regard that as, well, how about this one?
I feel like Roulette is stepping forward. Roulette meets a lot of new people. She's probably stepping forward, and
Another beauty graces the grounds of Ithinnyn. Welcome.
Megavonin, Minerva, I presume.
That is correct. My name is Minerva, and she will, as appreciating your Elvish, continues in Elvish, but she will also break into clunky, awkward Common for just a moment and say, "Greetings all. My name is Minerva. I am Telperian's brother." And even in that, it probably does highlight a resemblance to her brother in that moment. And also,
does she say brother?
Does she say brother?
You just said I'm Telperian's brother,
Yeah.
which is
sister. My
But
brain
no, if
did
it's
a
in
thing.
common and she's doing clunky common.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. She might accidentally do that.
That's funny.
But yeah, it just highlights how common is not the native language for these speakers. And actually, now that you notice, Telperian has had a much more natural and eloquent tongue, you notice, as he has been speaking Elvish in his kind of common home. But, well, tell me about your travels, Roulette.
Funnily enough, I don't think I'd be the right person to ask for the most recent of travels, but your brother here has been leading us on quite a journey and helping us get through the Emerald and all sorts of big and small adventures, I'd say.
She's gotten the Feywild fog.
Feywild's fog? How do you mean, brother?
That's where where we're coming from, actually. And when we exited the Feywild, she didn't take her memories with her.
Oh, sure. The prodigal son returns from the realm of fairy, I'm sure. Yes.
Indeed.
I mean, I have stuff written down, but you'd have to talk to one of these other friends of ours to get some more tangible proof, I'm assuming. But it's an absolute honor to meet you.
With her passive insight, she's going to puzzledly look at both of you and... How about you? What is your name? And looks to the next person that is nearest by, which would be...
Jiri's jumping up and down. He put it down first, but he made a giant like cheese and cracker sandwich that he like choked on when she came in, and then like was like coughing to like Roulette like beat him to it. But now he's like he's readied himself and he says, "Oh, hi, Minerva. I'm Telperian's friend Jiri, Jiri, Jarl of Jarland. Nice to meet you. I've heard you're the better
Jarl of Jarland. Jarl is a title, is it not?
Yeah, it's like kind of like what Telperion is, like a prince. We call them Jarls.
My brother finds himself in the presence of additional royalty. Fascinating. Well, welcome. And she does a little very formal curtsy in your direction.
Oh, bow or whatever Telperion usually does when he greets people. He'll do the same thing.
Minerva, ask him about how many people he's known that named Moby.
Rather clumsy sounding name. Is there some tale to this, Jajiri?
Oh yeah, I know a lot of Mobies. There's like Horse Moby and Child Moby, and then Shadow Moby, and then there's Blood Shadow Moby, and then Roulette's got a bunch of Mobies as well. So it's a very common name in my life. They get quite confusing.
Minerva leans over to your ear, Telperion, and says, "He is royalty?"
I think he's also insane, but he is. And I get the quietest whisper. He's my best friend of these lot.
Minerva has a kind of a tender smile and says, almost somber, and says, "You always did have a weakness for the reckless fools. Welcome, Jiri."
Yeah, I taught Talpiron how to fly, and he taught me Elvish. He's a good bud.
Very well. How about this magnificent creature, indicating toward Rome? Rome, how is your natural self like occupying this very formal space right now?
So I want to point out that with the long rest, Rome has somewhat changed her form to be more made of like white paper birch and ivy and like clematis, and she has a lot of flowers like decked out around her like bodice and have like dress. So and she has like flowers in her hair and has this long train.
Okay, because Telperion and anyone in the company of the Eladrin previously probably note a difference but similarity to that change in your sense of self, almost like the Eladrin have changed how they change their visage as part of kind of seasonal and emotional ties. Rome is almost like changing her form to better mimic terrain she's in. Rather unique in that sense.
Yeah, so she's not like connected to any thing in particular. Like with her roots, she's somewhat disconnected, but has like little tendrils and stuff that are always like grasping onto things. Bless you. And as she stands up, it sounds as though like when her knees buckle, it sounds like stepping on twigs in the forest. Like there's that snapping sound as she moves. And she goes and kneels in front of Telperion's sister and presents herself. I am Rome, and emits a particular like frequency that like warms the room. And I offer myself for you. Let me be proof that we have traveled through the Feywild, and your brother helped rescue me there.
I struggle to believe it, and yet I feel it must be true coming from one such as you. Are you a dryad nature spirit?
No, I am Rome. I am one with everything around me. I am nature. You and I are made of the same thing.
That deserves further study at some point on my end. It is a pleasure to meet you, Rome.
I have a DM question. Did we hear the interaction with Rome previous session where the word Mythiline came up?
I don't think so. That was within her vision.
Okay.
She gained that memory. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And then she turns to Consalo and says, "Hello, friend of Telperion." And he just says, "Hi, name's Consalo. Telperion speaks very highly of you. It's a pleasure to meet you." "Where do you hail from, friend?" "Oh, just in the Emerald. I live in the Emerald. But I got trapped in the Feywild, and that's actually where Telperion and friends found me. And now they're gracious enough to escort me into your home, which I am more than appreciative for. Good to meet you." And kind of just keeps his introduction curt and short, although warm. And she nods in acceptance. And how about this young man?
Is Toby being shy?
Reserved. I think that that distinction is important. I don't think Toby gets shy, or at least I don't think he has so far. I think he's just letting the moment happen and is not, interested in taking charge, but being addressed. Hi, my name's Toby Rama. It is rather funny to find myself here and you and your brother's home, as when I first met Telperion, he found himself in my home. So this feels rather poetic to finally have made my way here.
Where was your home? And she struggles in common. My apologies. It is taking me a few moments longer than usual to understand your wording. Where do you call home?
I did mark a second charge, and on using comprehend languages, so I'll say, feel free to speak your native tongue. I can understand it. I cannot reciprocate it, but I hail from Croatia, in this little town called For's Hollow.
Is that where Telperion first made his entrance into Croatia when he traveled northward, brother?
As far as he's let us know.
It is indeed. And Minerva, I must tell you, the Feywild is actually, I don't want to oversell this, but it is one of the less spectacular in regards to some of the things that have happened since I left. So your belief in what I have to say will likely be extremely crucial in the next hours.
Fascinating. I will try to piece together what I can from your tales. And I will trust you transparently as much as I can. Well, please, let me join you for a few moments. And she goes over and grabs a thin cracker and eats it. I missed dinner tonight. I was locked in my room studying my tomes. So haven't had a chance to eat yet.
Any new spells then?
Oh, I'm postulating on a couple that I think could be of use. It'd probably be hopeless to teach you, but are any of you all interested in the arcane?
Oh, Roulette's notebook is out. I saw you holding a bit of flame or something on the way in here. That was pretty interesting. I deal more on mathematical runic enchantments and the like.
I have pursued enchantments of my own accord when it suits my interests.
Oh.
I'm rather unique perhaps in that sense. Those in our culture tend to lean into the natural, primordial, and or divine magics. There are not many that regard arcane pursuits with much respect. But I find there are crevices in the dustiest of tomes that provide more value than people realize. I think I might have a similar mindset for the appreciation of a challenging puzzle, placing together runic sequences, and I have been known to dabble in occasional and experimental spellcraft myself, which is possible should you ever want to pursue that venture. But I'm sorry, I'm likely talking your head off. I don't know that you even care as much as me. I'm somewhat of a bookworm when it comes to that sort of thing.
Roulette, stumbles even though she's standing still. Minerva, Miss Loonsong, you're speaking my language. If at some point, and not this moment because it is dark out and past both our bedtimes, and I'm assuming there's larger conversations with the rest of the Loonsong family that are about to happen. But if at some point in the next day or so I could steal your ear, or you could steal mine, I'd love to discuss anything you might be working on, especially anything on the fringes of what might be considered possible. I'd say any of the weird stuff.
Well, perhaps a study session is something we can achieve over the next few days. Do you all think you find yourself here for a long duration? I imagine that might have to do with what Mother and the council members make of your arrival, but...
Before I answer that, Minerva, I want you to look at this thing, and I point at Alfie.
What in the world? I thought that was some loose piece of debris you brought in?
I'll snap and I'll have Alfie go into ostrich mode. This is something I've been working on and I made. And again, not for tonight, but I can give you the tour of the little guy. But something I hobbled together.
You made this.
I did. He's friendly, and he's got his combat uses, his exploratory functionality. But yeah,
fascinating. I have been able to pull off enchantments of small figurines that can animate briefly for some purpose, but the enchantment that must have been necessary for this mechanical construct to be animated like this and respond to stimulation in this way is very strange. It is not like anything I've seen, I don't believe. If I didn't know better, I might think you have an elvish mind hidden behind those human ears.
There's a very brief moment because I'm going to just show Mike just because at the very last bit of my notes from the Feywild, I wrote Fey relatives in the family tree, ask mom. And I will stutter again or stumble again. I can't speak to elvish relatives, but my dad's a brilliant man. He taught me everything I know and then some. He's a fantastic, brilliant mind, and he taught me everything I know about how to do all this enchanting and tinkering, and it's as much his as it is mine.
Very well. I am interested to pick your brain, Rowlett.
Of course.
Brother, this is fascinating company you find yourself in. But speaking to that which, are you in town for good? Do you mean to just introduce your friends here to our city before they make their way elsewhere, and you are here to return back to Ithinnyn society?
I don't believe I'm ready to return permanently, but we found ourselves with the option to come by here when we were departing Feyrealm, and I wanted to seek upon that because I was beginning to. Toby here has the ability to pass messages magically to people, and I had him try to reach to you, and it apparently didn't work. He didn't get anything received, and so I was worried about that, and I have been away for too long and was eager to check in while we were nearby, but we do have business elsewhere. But like you said, I'm curious how Mother will respond in the council, and I do bring news to share, and it is nothing small, so we'll be curious how the next events transpire.
Does that news carry information about the Alealor, that which you sought in your adventure?
Like I said, there's a lot I'm going to have to share, and that is a part of it, but not even the most urgent or pressing part. But to our people, the Alealor news will likely be the most pressing, but might change that.
You didn't get caught up in that war that's starting up in the Northern Nations at all, did you? I was worried for a minute when we started receiving word of the conflict up in the north, but I imagine you would not have involved yourself in that.
I think that king has father's sword. And yes, we did.
I'm sorry. What?
We skirted some of that, and are people here worried about the war? Or are they continuing to just pretend everything outside of our mythos don't exist?
That political landscape is becoming prickly. The news is not lost on us, especially as a less predictable threat than the one before it now finds itself occupying the nation to our north. So that has been a subject of much debate amongst the dignitaries and council members and such. Mother considers it constantly, though she doesn't share with me her inner thoughts on the matter. But I have been piecing together the stress and friction amongst the council members on that very topic.
Who is most against Mother in this?
It depends on what you consider Mother's position to be. She, as always, is a resolute guardian of a bastion of trying to understand both sides of every argument, considering every opinion from every council member. As you know, even if she didn't, at least she claims ignorance of such, even if you left without her formal blessing, you know that she was warming up to the idea of considering reaching outward outside of our forest. But I can't say that she is passionately proposing such. I think she was interested in your pursuits and was glad not to have given them herself. But if you consider her position one of consideration of interaction with the outer worlds, I think our relationship, I think the nature of your departure has, if not damaged, strained our relationship with House Tiarlin somewhat. Dagon Wildvine specifically is rather brash and bold in his assertions that you have recklessly traversed outside of our forests and could bring threat to our people. Whereas there is others, such as Desi Elthorn, house leader of Charmgaze, who maintains that what you do is in the best interest because it could prove fruitful in reunion between our cousin kin. There are varying opinions on the matter, and I don't know what inner factions have begun to form. Of course, Arethel and Mother have never gotten along well, but Arethel and house leader Elena have been preoccupied with the Enelern and Cloudswift elves' interests in the east and helping further facilitate the resources necessary for the Ashwood elves to continue healing and tending to the forest in that expanse. So they have seemed to be, I know their opinions on the matter less. But Neymar is difficult to ascertain his mindset. I don't mean to go through the list. Father, certainly, I think it has become clear to some who carefully pay attention that if the approval did not come from Mother, it must have come from Father. Even though it hasn't been explicitly stated as such. He finds himself in sometimes the anger of some of the council members, but his station as General of the Selethar protects his position fairly well.
Do you remember that time remember that dinner when you lit my cloak on fire? And you remember how
yes, Telperion.
Remember how mad Mother was?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I do think I'm going to get her to that level again today.
I have wondered the same. It is harder for me to understand where her head lies these days. She's even more reserved, more poised in her composure. It's hard to read her or even get useful information from her these days. I think the nature of your leaving and the escalation of conflict to the north has her really on edge, in my opinion, even if she would never show it or admit it.
Well, I likely shouldn't leave again without her blessing then.
That might be a good idea.
So I guess the long answer to your question on whether we're leaving immediately or not.
Very well. So the diplomatic answer, the most political one I know of, it depends.
I was never the diplomat you are, though.
Perhaps not. You and your sword dancing. At least you taught me a thing or two. Well, very well. I likely should make my leave and prepare for the morrow.
Ooh, Minerva, before you go, what's the one thing that we have to see before we leave?
I think you must see a midnight show at the Moondrop's Cradle as the central tree is at its brightest. The night after the full moon is usually a great opportunity to do so in 3 days' time. That might be an apt opportunity for you to get a glimpse into how people indulge in revelry and have fun here.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Redlet, can we add that to the schedule?
Of course, I will. I'll start making a schedule.
Thanks, Redlet.
Jared, do you have any other questions for Minerva? Or would you rather?
Ooh, what's something embarrassing Telperion did when he was a child? What was Telperion like as a kid?
That's not. I was said, would you rather, Jerry?
What?
I will have to contemplate on the subject and give you a couple examples because there are many.
There's none. There's none.
I can't wait.
There's none.
I could never run out of opportunities to share embarrassing stories of my brother.
Well, I want to hear all of them, so we'll probably have to write them down. Maybe make a book out of them.
Very well. Well, let's pray you are well received by our people, and should you have free reign of the place, find me sometime, maybe tomorrow, and we can talk, get to know each other better, all of you.
Should.
Perhaps I am overeager in saying so, but any friend of Telperion could become a friend of mine, I imagine.
Well, that's a political answer.
Brother, it is great to have you home.
Be gone not long.
Very well. And she will slip out of the chamber, and with a flick of the wrist, all of the white, blue, shimmering moon flame torches restore their coloration back to their normal yellow-orange.
So badass.
I never learned how she does that.
And you all are left alone to your own devices once more.
Toby, kind of sitting in the background, is going to like focus on a flame and cast thaumaturgy and try to change its color to match.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the restraints of thaumaturgy, so if that's something you can pull off within thaumaturgy, that might be appropriate.
Flames to flicker, brighten, dim, or change color for a minute.
Hey!
Nice.
Yeah, so it takes you a bit, and you're like, I imagine you're almost like, in Incredibles where Violet's like practicing with small force fields to like flicker with the fire. You're probably doing that for a little bit, but you pull it off, matching the kind of the vibe of it, even though something about it is a little less lustrous than the true moon flame that she was able to achieve.
Toby, my sister has a friend who I believe her power comes from Divinity too, and maybe she could show you how to make moonfire. If that's what you're trying to do.
Moonfire?
Yes. That's the fire you've seen on the torches here.
Telperion, where are the gardens in your city?
Which ones? The most. Would you like to see the Emerald Gardens tomorrow? Maybe.
Yes. Absolutely. Well,
I could describe them for you a little bit.
What? Say it again?
I could describe the Emerald Gardens for you a little bit. Great.
Yeah, Telperion could describe that right outside the Star Ripple bathhouses in that giant statue that is pouring out almost liquid moonlight into the pond below. That actually filters into a series of canals that almost act as an irrigation system, like subterranean for the dirt on either side of this beautiful, massive, sprawling section of the city called the Emerald Gardens, where there's just innumerous flora, well preserved and flourishing and blossoming year round.
And if we go to the gardens, I have to take you to the Crystal Sand Lake, where there are. So imagine the water, right? And there's along the shore, there's just gemstones and crystals that fill the beaches, and it's one of my favorite places to go.
Add crystal hunting to the agenda, Roulette.
I'll put it right before the midnight showing of whatever's playing at the amphitheater.
Perfect.
Can we please go to the Gemwell Gardens tomorrow?
That would be the first place I'll take you. Granted, the next conversation I have with the council and my mother goes well. I think I'm going to have to strong arm this a little bit. And they aren't used to me being disobedient or argumentative. So we'll see.
Are we all going to have to speak, or is it just going to be you?
They may question you, but I don't know. I don't know if they will. I don't think you have to prepare too much, and I can't emphasize this enough. Lie in no regard, because as you just saw from my sister, the smallest of our adventures are going to be hard to believe. So lie not, and I look at Jerry. Exaggerate not.
Exaggerate. Okay. I'll
Like-
try my best.
Like, how big was that metal mask spirit creature we just fought, Jerry?
Oh, it's huge. It's like the biggest thing ever.
No, it wasn't. It was smaller than that. See, that's what I mean.
I don't know, how are you supposed to like tell how big something is? That's impossible.
Roulette's size.
I look over at Roulette. I look over at Roulette as she's like, "There's many ways to measure this."
It's a matter of volumetric and dimensional metrics. Like,
It is funny
Roulette's
'cause
just
you-
like, oh, come on.
And you did stump Telperion a little bit, and like, I guess he's right. You compare it to something else, very approximate. It never needs to be exact, Jerry. Measurements can always be loose.
I don't think they're gonna ask us how big things were, though. Probably, right? What do you think they would ask?
All right. What are the most important things that have happened to us? The sacking of Ostennis. What else? We killed a demon and we fought a devil and we met Alufir and we spoke with the King of Chimeras and we went to the Feywild. We killed an Archfey and we battled with Eladrin. So,
how interested are you in avoiding our time in Kilodine, specifically of Chimeras? Is that something that's going to be on the forefront, or if they press, we obviously don't lie about it, but maybe try and omit that until we start dialogue about Consalo?
I will not lie. We will not shy away from what they want to discuss. There is one member who will probably seek that topic out, and he will not be kind. And he does have reason. But we will not lie, and I have said my arguments in favor of friend here, I'll point to Consalo, and the spiritual significance of his presence is massive. So, like I said, I might strong arm a little. They also will underestimate me.
If they ask me where I'm from, should I just be transparent and honest?
Yes, but yes.
Okay. I won't overindulge in extra explanation. I'll just answer the question as directly as I know how.
Do not mention June Quill if you can.
Okay. Well, as you guys consider what next may play out, you once more hear on your door, Telperion.
Could this be a good time for a break?
Yeah, we can do a break here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
Like crazy.
I unmuted.
What's crazy?
That I mean, I've written notes like it because I have a document that I keep as like Roulette's notebook, which is mostly like projects and stuff. But every now and then I'll write stuff in there. Like the nat 20 I got on the Arknight drawing is in there, and I do like a narrative of what like it's. Hold on, it's actually pretty funny. Not funny, but
Oh yeah, and then I went downstairs to go back.
there are no notes on this page. The sketches are beautifully intricate. If you didn't know the Arknight actually existed, you'd think this was some fictional legendary hero. Pure black and white, but the silvery sheen of the Arknight's armor somehow clearly comes off the page. But then I wrote like 2 pages worth of stuff while in the Fae.
Solid. That is very funny that she just happened to take extra notes over the course of the thing that she would soon forget.
So you aren't an elf because you didn't have a natural immunity to the remembrance.
Correct. I guess not.
You cracked the
Well,
case.
she has human ears, so she's clearly not an elf or a half elf for that matter.
And Toby has wings, so he's a bird.
And both of her parents are human too, so.
Allegedly.
Eugene's not human.
Ernest
isn't human. He's gnomish.
Eugene.
and Stanley Tinkerton.
Eugene.
Eugene Lavore.
Anything we need to catch up on pre-session resuming?
Not that I can immediately think of.
Alex found a new picture for Rome, like in her like
Oh,
form. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Present.
Yeah, that sounds dope. How can we get that in here?
Can I upload?
To the
Oh, wait, you
chat,
have a picture of this?
You might have to email me a picture for me to cut out and drag and drop into the Roll20 thing.
On Google and like copy link address. You go to Google.
Wait, show me what to do.
Find the picture again.
Oh,
Do you
find
know
the
what you-
picture again?
Yeah.
Oh,
way to
that's
do it.
the problem.
you guys, it was only 4 minutes.
Hours.
It was only 4 hours.
That's amazing. Oh. Maybe this is an after session question. What was the other option we rolled?
After session question.
I just want to finish chewing before we resume because I know I'm about to talk a lot more.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm downing this chicken really quickly.
Jiri, when Telperia's not looking, see if you can find his diary.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Like, Jury's snooping.
Oh, that's cool.
hardcore.
Dude, Jiri in this setting is like one of my favorite things.
I love this.
Rome, I can definitely
Like-
get a new PNG of this ready for
Oh.
It looks
next
like
time.
it's like
Oh, yeah.
tarot art. Crit, doesn't it remind you of the Dragon Age Inquisition art?
I guess what it
All the
reminds
tarot
me
cards.
more. Oh, kind of. To me, what it looks more like is like a forest version of Azora from Zelda games.
Ooh, yeah.
It does look good by Azora, yeah. Huh.
Love it.
Specifically, like the hair back of the head thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, the face
Oh, yeah.
structure in the back, vine shrubbery is almost like their face and their tails.
This is an NPC in the next Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Awesome.
It.
Yeah, it's like I need to like draw it, like what I actually. All of this is like an amalgamation of what I wanted to
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah.
So
If only I could draw.
Dude,
Yeah, that's-
AI is getting scary good now. You might be
Oh,
able to
it's
throw
so
some
good.
buzzwords to AI and just it whips
They'll
up
make it
exactly
for
what you
you.
have in mind.
Jajiri, Jarl of Jawland.
Which is also just terrifying because it's just replacing all digital artists like instantaneously. It's doing stuff with that quality and it's gonna like fuck
Get
over all
ready
those
for
people.
everybody to be replaced by a machine.
Yeah.
I'm so down. I'm so down for it.
Jack me into the Matrix already. I'm ready.
I'm down with it as soon as UBI becomes a thing.
What?
Which I think some countries have like done test runs of that, but I've never like looked into what has come from that.
Oh, I was being sarcastic. I don't want to be jacked into the Matrix.
Get me chipped. Get me chipped. I want to be chipped.
No, I want to escape Mordor. I don't want to be an orc anymore.
Him and I had some real big discussions about this when he was here.
I just want to be in a fantasy world as much as possible. So just like, give me all the augmented reality Skyrim I can have. If I could live in D&D, I would.
Absolutely.
I saw a like 4-year-old kid carrying around a player's handbook when I was driving home back from Chicago, and it was the most fucking adorable thing.
That is adorable. I can't wait to raise my kids to be 5-year-old DMs.
All right, Crit. I'm gonna put this open image in new tab. I'm putting this image in the chat. This is just the image that Rome's picture reminded me of, which is from Dragon Age Inquisition, which is just an elf from the game.
Oh, I had forgotten about that image, but yeah, totally. Which also gives me the Zora vibe.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well.
Yeah, that's
I think
so
it's that forehead to bridge of nose structure that just makes it infinitely Zora to me.
Yeah, you're right.
Whoa,
about
and they both kind of have that. You're right.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like Rome isn't like naked like that, is she? Right? Like she's.
No, it just gave me it just reminded me of it.
Art style.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm curious. Like, is
Oh,
like
no,
Rome
Rome's
just like
not-
straight naked?
No, Rome's not just like straight naked.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, you can see her shape. She's shapely.
Shapely.
she has.
That's a good word. Oh, she's got shapes.
I have another question. So,
That's how me and my buddies always described women when we were little kids. Oh yeah, she got shapes.
Jesus.
I'm
Does this
kidding.
look like
It's just
Rome
such
at
a
all?
weird way to describe someone.
this is what I picture sometimes when I think of Rome.
Oh, that's cool too.
Is that accurate in any way?
Ooh, yeah. Well, just like the integration of like
Yeah.
nature into her body that creates like, you know, she's got like flowers that make up her hair, like, you know, her arms are made of many like twigs kind of like woven together.
I don't think we've seen her with birds yet, but I could imagine her being like
I could have,
birds
like, a nest
nesting
in
in
my
her.
hair.
and-
A natural perch. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
love that.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so most recently, you heard a knock at your door, Telperion.
And I, from across the room, open it. Okay.
Standing in the open doorway is Tinara, a woman Selethar under your father's control, with another individual scout behind her, and the two at the sides of your door still in view as well. Greetings all, you have been summoned to the Great Hall.
Oh. All right, let us go.
Please prepare yourselves as you need, and we will escort you that way. And as all you gather up what you need to, you can leave belongings behind here if you would like. You can do whatever you want.
Up here, just should I leave Alfie behind? Is he gonna be a distraction?
Bring him. I want you to be yourself. He's part of you.
Okay. Bring him along.
I just want to, last emphasis, we aren't here to hide or apologize for anything. So, good example, bring him.
I'm gonna
Very well.
stick very close to like Consalo, like we planned, and like kind of just like get next to him and be like, "All right, buddy, we got this."
All right,
In
Jerry.
the back trying to blend into things.
I'll try and be like
Perfect.
appearing like a second in command to Telperion.
I just need to find a thing. There we go. So, once you all kind of compose yourselves, prepare mentally to proceed, you are able to exit Telperion's bedroom antechamber space and follow the scouts down a series of tower staircases, through corridors, through a banquet hall, and back to the center of Nightlamp Palace. This massive, great hall. And I'm going to throw on different music for this. In this hall, a magnificent throne room with wall facades of beautifully polished marble stone, covered in sprawling green and blue and violet ivy, and leering fey statues of supernatural beauty and luxury. The high vaulted ceilings are supported by jade pillars that are wrapped in natural growth of forest vines, and opulent tapestries hang from the silver birch rods high in the air. And 3 streams of the similar to what you've seen throughout Ithinnyn in the Moonset Grove outside, 3 streams of like almost like translucent rivers of particulate flecks of matter that emanate moonlight, just drift through this space like streams of light. Through the grand open windows out and above the entrance to the back, and through the entrance where you're now approaching, and likely into the city below, probably toward the central moonlit beacon tree at the Moondrop's cradle. And in your entrance to this space, it appears that all other members that are planning to attend have already taken up a standing position in some form in various locations throughout this hall. The Mooncrest Council, specifically, those members, have all gathered at the front. The Selethar escorts at your sides lead you up toward the front of the deep emerald carpet runner to stand before the audience front and center. Everyone's focus is placed entirely onto you, and it is so silent in your entrance that your own footfalls upon the soft carpet seem to echo through the space. And both during your approach, as well as certainly when you slow to a stop towards the center of the audience, the massive vista up ahead dominates your vision. A sprawling and magnificent weave of branch and vine and tree limb radiates like a cradle of its own from the intricately carved wooden throne. And in front of the throne, requiring most of your focus and attention, flanked on either side by a high-ranking Selethar commander on the left, as well as Maethros, general of armies, on the right, stands Tenufeo. Aranil of the Ithilwinge, chosen bound descendant of their Fey ancestors, leader of culture and prominence, Tenufeo Loonsong, Telperion's mother. She wears a deep midnight blue velvet regal attire with filigree and lining of silver and gold and platinum. She rests one hand on a very ornamental, decorative rapier blade at her side, fitting of her formidable bearing. And her cascading dark coils of hair, very similar to both Maethros and Minerva, but not Telperion. And they fall elegantly over her shoulders at each side. And her head is adorned in a bright mithril coronet at the crest of her forehead, from where magnificent antlers sprout, larger and of more delicate beauty than any of you've seen thus far ahead on top of the heads of the Mooncrest elves you've seen so far in Ithinnyn. The antlers almost seem branch-like, enhanced by the fact that small buds of white rose and lily seem to dot their length, even seemingly growing out of them. And fitting of her grandeur and representation of her culture, draped across her shoulders and falling to the ground behind her lies a breathtaking opalescent cape that seems luminescent in its own right, gathering every ounce of torchlight and moonlight in this space and refracting it in a dazzling gleam of iridescent brilliance. And as you all come to a stop in the midst of everyone here, she speaks. And I'm going to do the classic thing of putting her front and center as she talks.
Yes. Oh, hell yeah. Oh.
Suilad Nothrim Ei Kova and Astor. Greetings to my extended family here today. Thank you for gathering in good faith, even past the crown of midnight. Dathwen Edertha Nolian Ei Arian Topirian, Len Suilana Melmuin. I give greetings to you, my child, as well as those in your company. I wish for myself and the members of the Mooncrest Council to be the first to formally regard your return, and my heart does well to see you here. However, it is with a heavy heart that we cannot extend warm and honorable welcome in earnest as of yet. As is known amongst all in attendance this day, my son's departure a mere 2 moons ago has ushered conflict and tension among our kin. And wish though as I may, as his mother, it is required within my duty and fealty to overlook my eagerness to graciously accept his return without consequence. I open the floor to those of the council first that wish to speak on the matter, before allowing the prince to speak his mind. And one of the individuals first steps forward. This individual over here. That Telpyrian you know to be Desi Elthorn, house leader of the Charm Gaze elves.
Your Grace, with all respect, although I am eager to hear the explanation from the young prince, I find it is highly irregular and inappropriate for guests from the world abroad and not of our culture to be present for such a discussion.
And immediately another member steps forward and speaks. Telpyrian, another one, I'm going to send her to the back so I can click individuals. Another one that you know immediately. Arethel Mirelight, house leader of the Cloudswift Elves, the Elrim and Enelarin, steps forward, and you notice, Telpyrian, that his wife, Raybella, as well as his youngest son, Ezrin, little brother and heartbreakingly spitting image of a younger Doran, stand behind him. He speaks. I understand your concern, and I share some as well, brother. But I would that we hear the words of young Loonsong before turning them away. Perhaps knowing that our attention may be focused on the strangers in our midst will properly motivate the prince to state his case well, lest he fail his comrades and subject them to less amenable experience in our home. And yet another member steps forwards and speaks. Dagon Wildvine, house leader of the Elrim Tiarlin, the Forest Watch Elves. Greetings all. As a long-tenured ally to House Nimberthil, I must admit that even I struggle to look past the prince's transgression of leaving our forests. Although a surprising force of the populace in our cities seems to admire some measure of his intent to seek our long-lost cousin kin, it can surely be unquestionable that it is reckless, especially without the approval of the council or Erenor herself. Whether you acknowledge this or not, Prince Telpyrian, your venture into the outer world can spur opportunity for threat and endangerment to our people's position and way of life. And not to mention the state of the world affairs that prove less predictable in the north, and is immediately cut off by the Erenil herself, who speaks. Though your words and views are as appreciated as any, Lord Dagon, the purpose of this gathering is merely to discuss our collective views regarding the prince's return, not to postulate on the state of recent events in the northern nations. Of course, my apologies, Erenil. And yet another council member steps forward and speaks. Elena Morwing, house leader of the newly formed Elrim Thantuar, the Ashwood Elves.
I am, of course, interested in all opinions of the council members, but might I propose the prince be granted the opportunity to speak at this time? Perhaps his words will miraculously quell our concerns and justify the company he has brought into our midst.
And after her, she spoke. She kind of glances over at Arethel Meyerlight to her side, almost seeking approval of her proposal. And Arethel nods, his approval seemingly carrying quite a bit of weight in this space. And then he calls out, "Very well then. Prince Loonsong, let us hope for your sake and the sake of your bloodline's name, that you can adequately compel us with your next oration." And Toby Rama specifically, with your high passive perception, you catch a couple puzzled looks shared by various members in attendance at Arethel's using the word bloodline. Kind of a disconcerting phrase to some of the populace for some reason. That gathers, there seems to be a building sense of suspense from the audience. And Tinufail speaks once more. "Well, Eon, Prince Telperion, my son, how do you wish to proceed?"
It is well known among the Ithinnyn I speak not with my mother nor my sister's grace. But it appears I must speak quickly, and with many assurances for many problems that the council has brought here today. Where would you like me to start? Would you like excuses for my departure? Would you like news of my travels? Would you like me to account for the many problems that have assailed our people over the past centuries? I have much to say. It appears, though, you are not eager to hear all I have to say. So whom should I speak to first, of my many questioners?
Dagon Wildvine steps forward first, which once again I have to put her to the back so that I can select someone else, and says, "Perhaps, young prince, you can start with conjuring up a compelling reason for why you felt your own personal mission was adequate to forsake our people and our city without approval from the Mooncrest elves, the council members, your mother, or otherwise."
Were there attacks in my absence? Was there some danger that heralded us that only I could have saved us from? We have our mythos to protect us. I see not how I weakened our people by leaving, but instead I did seek to aid our people by my leaving. I could have submitted a proposal to be debated by the many elders of our people for my departure, but instead I sought to risk my own name to benefit our people by searching for our long-lost cousins, the Alealor. It is no secret that our Crescent Knight powers are waning. We have, one left? I sought to find ways to help protect us. I stand here not as a chastened prince with my antlers frowning at the floor, but I have learned much and I have much to share, and my risk, my gamble, was very worth it, if you cared to hear the rewards of it.
Namar Nightshine steps forward, another house leader of the Coldvale Elves specifically. "Prince, I think many of us, and also some of the pictures I'm showing here are of elves I've cut out from awesome pictures on the internet, but noticeably all of these Mooncrest elves would have dark hair, not some of the blondes and silveries that I'm showing. Yeah, all of them have dark hair and some manner of small branch-like or deer-like antlers to varying sizes and patterns, none as grand as Tinufail herself. But Namar steps forward and say, "Prince, I think I speak for more than one of us when I say that we do in fact wish for you to tell tales of any successes you have found in your journey."
Before I even left the Emerin, as I left the Emerin, I stumbled upon a very, very humble settlement called Force Hollow. I met friends there, friendly people, I should say, not friends, people I did not know. We sought to help, what was it, Toby? A man who had lost his horse, right? Peony, I do believe. Was extraordinarily humble. I can't emphasize that enough. We, in the course of chasing down this horse, found the remains of an Alealor ruin, which we have not found ever before in our woods here.
Desi eagerly steps forward and says, "A ruin of the Alealors?
In what manner? We have searched far and wide, many locations in the forest and outside of the cities we know of. There has been nothing to be gained there.
It was protected by a mythal. I brought my, at the time, strange companions through it, and we chased a dark dryad who had stolen this horse. We did battle. My friend Jiri here was attacked by a wolf, which he will not soon forget. But having conquered the dryad, we remained there in the ruins for a night at my insistence. This here is Tobirama, of human as he appears, but I do believe he is of Mo, because at some behest he started singing in the lost language of the Alealo and activated a room of some kind. I tranced there that night and had a vision of the Alealo departing this realm through the contraption that we found there, which was not in order, but with the vision I had on the autumnal equinox, I saw them activated.
Tobirama, as more attention is starting to focus on you and your nerves might enhance a little bit, you still, with your passive perception, catch a figure walking into this space from the side, down a side corridor. The familiar face of a more regally dressed in more formal attire now, Minerva. Still holding a small bit of moonfire in her hand, but more regal apparel in her kind of diplomatic attire wear.
Strong.
And she seems to be puzzled by the new Alealor news, but does not make a sound. Seemly has just appeared on the scene. But Desi will continue his questioning that you saw them disappear from this plane. How do you know? If they merely disappeared, how can you know where they traveled to?
Desi,
you saw this in a memory?
In a trance, yes. A vision that came to me. And I do agree. I don't know that they departed this plane precisely, but they departed this realm is the wording I used, which could indicate another plane. We have been known to travel to the Feywilds. My companions and I come from the Feywilds, actually. Or they could have transported somewhere else, but they did depart from the ruins through the magic activation of the orrery that we saw, which had strange symbols etched upon it. I do not know how they activated it.
Another elf steps forward, Saria Tidebound, another house leader. Pardon, but I believe you had just suggested that you had returned from the plane of fairy. Surely this is a jest.
Surely it is not a jest. This group here, the Four Winds of Creatia, of which I am a member, have inadvertently found ourselves connecting, aiding, befriending, helping the leaders of both Creatia and Chimeras. We went through a portal of the Feywild, and
Arethel is going to cut you off.
Sure.
As you mention Chimeras, he steps forward and says, "You must explain further, young elf prince. What do you know of Chimeras? How have your interactions with their kind gone? How have you traveled to their lands and broken bread and shared time with them?"
We were saved, actually. So, I'm doing this poorly. We went to Ostennis after Falls Hollow. After a few days there, after having inadvertently helped one of the companions of the Queen, we saved the Queen from an attack of the Durastian king. We then departed from Ostennis, went back to Falls Hollow. Our companion Gallus Aaron was attacked by an ally of the King of Durast, and we were saved by 2 or 3 members of the King of Chimeras' entourage. He himself was there, did battle with that ally, and we whisked away with one of his allies. And through my dealings with the Chimerans, I have been met with curiosity, perhaps fear, but also open hearts, and they suspended their knowledge of my kind to get to know me, and none have treated me hostilely.
Pardon, Prince. Before we get to the matter of Chimeras, you mean to suggest you were involved with some of the assaults that happened in Austenis, and thereafter won the attention of one of King Durast's right-hand men that tracked you down and slayed your ally? This is exactly the type of threat I am discussing. No, we have not had attacks here in our home, but you have already garnered the attention of a threat that has occupied the entire nation to our north. Even if some forts and strongholds have yet to fall, Durast will take over Croatia, and they are a less predictable and far more dangerous source to the north than Croatia.
Do you think that my presence there is the only thing that would help him remember that we exist? No, he followed Gallus Aaron and slaughtered him for reasons I know not which. But then we departed. We have seen him not since. But they know of our existence. We have, because of my actions, made allies of Croatia and Chimeras, our most intimate neighbors. Duras will surely come for them, and shall we stay here huddled behind our mythals without any knowledge of what those leaders are doing?
Apologies, young prince, but winning an ally of a now broken nation to the north and a savage nation of beasts to the south who have subjected us to bloodshed, these are not easily digestible pros in your favor.
No, I think nothing I could say is easily digestible to us who sit here for many hundreds of years doing very little to think about the outside world. No, I think that this is, in fact, is going to take quite a while to be digested, but we are not alone in allies or enemies, as we wish to believe for so long. And I'll wait there to see if anyone's going to interrupt me.
Another one will stand forward. Dagon will speak. Actually, your mother will say something. Pardon. Settle. As expected, we knew tensions would arise in this gathering. But before we proceed, I believe we should address another beast in the room, so to speak. My son, would you take a moment to introduce us all to all of your comrades here? I fear we must make ourselves familiar with them if we are to grant them the benefit of the doubt and understand them to be your allies that we could trust you to make.
Certainly. Here is Rome, who I met in the Feywild. She is a fey being of nature and good spirit, and she is one who seeks to be in peace and balance with the nature around her. This is Toby Rama, whose last name I cannot remember. Aronson. And he is very young, but he has connection with the god Kelimvor of balance. Toby, am I right? Of balance between life and death. And he is a powerful cleric who has brought me and my allies back from death. This here is Roulette, an inventor, tinkerer, mage of a sort, whose intellect, Minerva, I'm sorry to say, rivals yours. And this is her friend that she had crafted herself. This here is my ally in swords, Jarjiri, Jarl of Jaland, who hails from the, I believe, elemental plane of air.
Yes. Orin, in fact. It is
Orin, in fact.
an honor to be here in... I'm going to look at the little card that you gave me that says the name and say it in Elvish.
Ithinnyn.
Ithinnyn.
Ithinnyn, yes. And he carries powerful magic with him. This here, and I kind of pull Kinsalo up, is my most special friend of the moment. in Avariel, which I do not recall in our people's law. But as we know, we are not long at peace. We have been enemies with the Birdkin who share the Emrin with us. He has lived with them, was not birthed with them, but they found him and take him to be a very special person, as do I, because he is of descent from both Akkadi and our pantheon, and is in fact both Elvish and Birdkin alike.
To Newfail, everyone at the mention of this like deep lore, so to speak, of the term Avariel and the unfamiliarity with that in your culture, everyone kind of actually regards to Newfail, looking to her for answers as if she might have some better understanding of ancient lore than the rest of them. And she does bring a hand to her chin and say, in my learning of the past, indeed, Avariel was a term granted to the descendants of the combined god Akkadi, formed from Sirenita, who the bird folk call creator, and Airdrie, one of three formerly Angorad within our pantheon. You claim to truly be Avariel, Kinsalo. Yes, Aranil. That is what I have been told that I am. Although I claim not to state that with complete confidence. But I think it has been clear to me over my life that I am not quite birdkin, but have some elvish ancestry in my own right. I don't presume to postulate what that could mean, but I can confidently say I do believe I am an Avariel. Yes. Tinufail simply nods, considering to ponder.
It is not lightly that I bring non-elves to this city, to this council, but each of the members here have saved me from death, and with their wits, magic, and strength have achieved more than many of our kindred, though they are humble and young. They are fearless, they are gentle, they are good. They deserve more than your suspicion and hostility, and to be here today, they have conquered horrors. So I have profited by their presence. I have profited by leaving our forest and meeting others unlike us. I welcome you all to get to know them and do the same.
Prince, in my personal opinion, you have provided some rather interesting and unique bits of information. But I would, if you will, provide a simplified version of the trajectory and allies you claim to have made.
Absolutely.
For our own understanding of our position in this world.
As I have expressed, it was our waning of the moon crests, the Kiron Glamdring, that I left, because I knew the solution was not here. So I left, and inadvertently on my part, found myself in the presence, first of all, of the Queen of Ostanis, who knew me for Ithinnyn when she saw me. She was kind, gave us a place to stay in her city, and asked little of us, gave us a writ of support. We were in her presence when she was attacked, and we absconded and saved her life and departed. She went her way and we went ours. She knows I am a friend to her. She's a friend to me. And I do believe Creatia would be warm to any communication we could send them.
Sorry, a Tidebound speaks up. And are you suggesting when the Queen went her way, Queen Elia, that she now resides hidden within the city, or did she flee? It is common knowledge at this point that Durast occupies Ostennis.
Queen Elida and her companion Kari are more wily than I can express, and also brave, and she did not leave the city. She did not leave far from the city. She does stay close, seeking opportunity to resist the invasion. The invasion happened because there were people who were sabotaging the city, dividing the forces. It is important for me also to state that I learned of a place called Lux Monastery, where I found a half-elf descended from Alealor. I could not interview him because of circumstances, but he potentially knows more.
Just as a note, and because you would represent this correctly, you met Delta Ignoril, brother of Elise Ignoril, who is a fire genasi. However, although he is the head of Lux Monastery, his master, his tutor, who is no longer of this world, was the establisher of Lux Monastery. He was a half-elf of descendant of Alealor, and you had tracked down that you could make available his tome of journal, Illicent. Yeah. Just wanted to establish that you didn't meet a half-elf of, yeah, but you would have represented that correctly.
Perfect.
But upon that information, Desi will state immediately, so that we cannot look past that. That is of note, at least, Erinil. If he speaks true, your son claims to have not only found Alealor ruins that have evaded our search, but also found possibly a tome of Alealor text in some regard that certainly can prove valuable of some right, no? And Tinufail just simply nods at you for you to continue with any information you have.
As I said, we then departed to Force Hollow. Before we were chased away from Force Hollow by the Duracians, I instilled them in the ruins of the Alealor to protect that village so they could be protected by Amethals. So, again, we have friends outside the Emerin.
Not that random person. Elena Morwing will just, for a little bit of clarification, will step up and say, so these citizens of Force Hollow now reside within the Alealor ruins of our ancestors, correct?
It has saved them from certain destruction, and they are still there, to my hope.
Fascinating.
In the week we had preparing for that invasion, we had a feeling it was coming. I investigated the ruins to the best of my ability and found a little more, which I can tell you later, but they surely will profit, and I think the Alealor would be glad to know that Mythals are protecting people. From Force Hollow, we went to Chimeras, where we met with Beast King Mordecai. He was very impressive, favorable to us because of the relationship we had with Mangalos Aran. He gave us several tasks to complete while we were present, if we wished. We completed several of them. Through them, we met Aluthia, who I believe to be a dragon in disguise. The guise she wears is of an Alealor. She loved an Alealor, who is no longer living, but she maintains the appearance of one.
I cannot state my knowledge on this Owlithir you speak of, nor can I lend any credence to its truth. But I have Elena Morwing and I have, in our efforts in the East, in the establishment of the Ashwood Elves Embassy there, we have met with the Beast King and found him to be rather unwilling to grant us full perusal of those woods. We emphasized our need to heal and tend to the wood as we could, and he was fairly resolute in his refusal that we could pursue east enough to make a real difference. at some point this will become an issue.
A king who doesn't want his land inhabited by those who have not been favorable to his people sounds bold and unwilling to fold to pressure. Alethea also informed me, and I believed her, that there were no Alealor in Chimeras. In my investigations, I also believe there are none left in Creatia. So in these 2 months, we have ruled out the Emerin, Chimeras, and Creatia as possible locations for the Alealor. And did you have another question? I believe you asked me to relate to you my relationship with those rulers. Again, I have emphasized that I do not speak for our people. I am no diplomat. But we have favorable connection with both of them. And granted the broken status of Creatia, and I'll look at Arethel, sure, they might not seem like the most ready allies, but they certainly are the most willing to go against Durst. So despite hiding here behind our mythals, we lack nearly entirely support from Crescent Knights. We may find them to be steadfast allies.
Sorry, Tidebound speaks up. Broken and unpredictable allies at best, but still, if we are seeing more and more of an unpredictable and dangerous force to our north that could, should they wish, at any point surge into our forest, our mythals can only hold up for so long. It could be beneficial to consider the options that we could use to our defense, even if the allies are unlikely. Tenufail simply continues to stand there with extreme poise, just gathering information, rarely chipping in. Tell us, Prince, in detail, if you would, what allies have been made among Chimeras?
He's King Mordecai, the agents of his Terror Corps, Korik, one of his advisors, who is of the Birdkin. Korik asked us to do his people a favor, and we saved Kinsalo here from the Feywilds, from a dark Fey who we slew. And so I do believe his entire people will consider me an ally, for he is important to them. I did not meet Oro Junquil. But Arethel, I'd like to remind you, outside of your family, no one has wept more tears than I for the death of the man I hoped to marry.
Toby Rama, passive insight alone, you see the whites of the knuckles of Arethel start to show. You see a clenched jaw. He's really trying to stifle anger. And Desi Elthorn speaks up once more. Pardon me an indulgence of curiosity, Your Grace. What was the nature of your return from the Feywild? Such is not an easy task, even during a coronation ritual. It is difficult to find reliable communication with the Eladrin of the different cares. It is difficult to accommodate safe passage there and home. How did you find yourself entering and leaving?
Entering was easy. We stumbled after an interrogation of some quicklings. Departing was much more difficult. We met with, and I'll look at Tiarlin, house leader, the Eladrin of Camethrin. Morrigan, are you familiar?
Yes, a prickly one, that one, but has always at least established for us a safe way through.
She did not grant me that. She asked me to kill her brother on her behalf, Aeolas, because she did not and she could not bear that he was a lycanthrope. We did not kill him. We met him, made peace with him, and learned that they had perverted their mythals to create prisons for creatures. So we took Aeolus to her, feigning his death. And upon seeing him, she tried to murder him and then commanded her retainers to murder us. You will find
Toby Rama and Rome with passive perception. For one of the first times, you see a shift in Tenufail's composure in her posture as she like tilts ahead and upward in actual concern at this news, but doesn't say anything.
I confess it was difficult to save our own lives without taking any lives of the Eladrin. Aeolus slew his sister, as she had proven she could not bear him peaceably residing there. So Aeolus now commands Camethrandine, and I do believe the Eladrin of Morrigan are his now to try to bring back to the light. And he has expressed dear wish for alliance with us and ground safe passage to and from Camethrandine, and in fact sends gifts. And I can present those when you wish.
Tenufail speaks, and it's almost like everyone just silences and does not try and speak when they can sense that she wishes to speak. And she regards Dagon, Wildvine. Lord Dagon, if what my son says is true, and there has been a shift in the chaos at Camethrandine, if bloodshed was spilled, of course it is a travesty. But we cannot quickly assume that the state of affairs now is worse off than we have always suspected it might go with that particular group. And Dagon just regards her and nods. And the facial expressions indicate maybe not agreeing, but considering. And he quiets. Tenufail then says to you, Telperion, my son, what manner of gift do you claim to bring from the Eladrin of Camethrandine?
And I will ask Roulette to hand it back. And with Consalo's help, I'll take out the tapestry.
Yeah, Consalo will help you get it out, and if you want to unroll it and step forward, he will help you do that. How do you present it?
I'll have him hold one half, and I'll hold the other end of it, and we'll walk forward and present it and lay it on the floor below the dais.
Cool. You guys walk forward a little bit and lay it forward, and two of the rangers will actually grab it from you guys and bring it up to Tenufail. And she just studies it for a moment and says, you definitely see a puzzled look on her face. And I'm going to say with Toby Rama's extremely high passive perception, you do notice her glance focused on the most upper central portion of the tapestry's depiction, as she seems puzzled as well at this third deity kind of being shown as Corellon on the left and Angarad on the right. This central, beautiful, womanly deity figure holding the light of the sun in her hands definitely causes a puzzled brow furrow from Tenufail. And then she looks up and nods off for the rangers to kind of take that to the side and move along with it. And she says, such a magnificent tapestry deserves further study and perhaps appreciation of all of our kind. There are mysteries, I imagine, to be gleaned from that. Some of it evades even my knowledge. However, it can be no mistake that it is of Eladrin make. And some of the council members and other dignitaries and ambassadors in the space kind of share, oh, like a little murmur throughout the crowd of interest and approval, surprise. And as you guys kind of let that go, Tinufeo says, "My son, you have journeyed northward without formal approval into a new nation now embroiled in war. Though, in my opinion, it is clear that there have been values gained, allies won, even if currently not in a position to lend direct aid, perhaps. And then in Chimeras, rather interesting you find allies there, especially in our history. I, of course, will need to refrain, but I open it up for the council members to state their decree on how they find favor with the prince's words. And upon that, Telperion, with the aid of your party, unless there's additional words for you to say, you are going to be subjected soon to a persuasion check."
Okay. I do have one last. I'm talking to Crit. I have one last thing. Is now's a moment, like the moment to be presenting it.
Of course. If there are any final words, make them now before the council members state their formal opinion.
Aranil, I can speak to the Chimerans and the Birdkin specifically. I've seen their home, and I've seen that to them we are death and to be feared. And I know we do not see it that way. So I confess by leaving, I have grown in that opinion. But I also bring one final gift, which is that the Kiran Glamdrang are no longer inactive. And this quest I could not have done if I had not activated powers long chased by the Crescent Knights that have remained dormant for many years. And I will try to pick up my willing ally, Kinsalo.
He will be a willing ally.
And move him back to where he was. And then I'm gonna push myself off the ground, levitate up, and like fly and right back to where I was, and say, I have not.
As you do that, very clear and audible shock and awe throughout the crowd. And in this first moment, you didn't notice behind you in this whole presentation, but as you fly and lift off and kind of surge around in the air and take your place backwards, you spot Vanya Duskveil back in the corner of the entrance of this space, whose jaw has dropped and regards you, your tutor and trainer so far in your efforts.
And I'll like be slowly descending as I say this next part. My confidence and assurity in my mission was quickly built as I learned that my powers were growing. I've spent a century or more levitating pebbles and knives in the training grounds of the Crescent Knights. I failed to save Doran from being murdered because of my inabilities. But they have not inactive any longer. I know not why, but I have strong belief leaving is what enabled these powers. I think before you pass judgment, you should understand that the Alealor did not stay and hide. During the wars of the past, they left and they sought to help the world around them. I think by doing the same, I've grown as well.
Mutters amongst the crowd, definite recognition, and that seems to be a new variable for them to consider for sure. And your mother even cocks an eyebrow as you do that. Breaking her composure is fairly significant. Very well. Saria, how do you find Telperion? You know me, your majesty. I am dutiful and eager to lift up our kin around me, using tradition where necessary. But I do find value in shaking things up, so to speak. Rash and recklessness aside, value was gained where we otherwise might not have approved it. I see no fault of Telperion. Tinufail nods. And now I would like you to make a persuasion check with advantage.
Oh,
I was so bummed we didn't get a long rest, and I was going to prepare enhance ability.
I have it, but I'm not going to step in.
I'm going to say, with your allies, with Consalo helping out on the tapestry, your eloquently worded words, which you also get a point of inspiration for, you, as well as the display of Crescent Knight grandeur, this definitely has earned you advantage.
Oh. 18. I rolled a
18 total
19,
on the
which is
advantage.
like almost the best I can do.
Yeah. Desi Thorn, how do you find my son? Your Grace, his words are compelling. Though, in the future, we perhaps need to solidify some common understanding of consequence needed to put in place for those acting without the knowledge of the Mooncrest Council and yourself. That is not something I can eagerly overlook, though I do think we have seen in Telperion's oration an improvement in his psionic abilities as a Curum Glandrin, as well as new links and threads to pull on in possible pursuit of the Alea lore. In my opinion, those outweigh the transgression of his departure. I see no fault of Telperion. Dagon Wildvine, how do you find my son? Aranil, you have won me over in recent centuries. Your emphasis on needing to grow and explore new traditions rather than relying on the past has been valuable. But I cannot overlook such a gallivanting into the northern nations. Who is to say Telperion did not play some part in how the conflict in the north arose? Perhaps it was no entire fault of his, but there needs to be some consequence put to your son. Tinufail nods in acceptance. Mathros, typically, the general of the Selethar would also weigh in. However, I find from you and I's conflict of interest, we both need to abstain on this vote. Your father nods. Namar Nightshine, how do you find my son? Convincing our kin that the beast folk to the south are a tenuous ally is going to prove outrageously difficult, perhaps impossible. Winning over the populace is no easy feat. But Telperian's actions have already begun to chip away at that. I will do my part to act in the best interest, always, of our people. If that means allying with the unlikely, I will of course consider it. You all know that my son, as well, is a trainee with the Curum Glamdrin. If there is any hope to bring back that revered martial form into our culture, I would like for him to play his part in such as well. If journeying outside the woods of our forest are the way to do that in some regard, perhaps Telperian's reckless behavior was warranted. Or at least the ends justified the means. I see no direct fault of Telperian. Elena Morwing, how do you find my son?
Erinil, Your Grace. Frankly, I do not mean to speak with heightened authority in any regard. I appreciate my elevation to the position of House Leader of the newly formed Thantuar, and I am eager to help facilitate growth however I can. However, you catch Toby Rama with your high passive perception, and Rome, actually. She shares a glance with Erithel for a moment and says, however, I am not prepared to give my opinion at this moment. I will need to consider further. And Tenufail says, understood. By our customs, you have until the next moon to make your decision known. Arethel Meyerlight, how do you find my son? I have solidified my opinion on the matter. He says it softly, though his bearing and respect given to him by all the other council members grant him the appropriate silence that his words still really carry. Whether or not some of you give in to foolish submission at the prince's insistence that he has had the best of intention, altruistic and well-meaning, it does not justify his actions. When my eldest son, Doran, died 7 years ago at the hands of a captain of the birdfolk, I admit to wallowing in sorrow and rage for some years. But in the past 2 years, I transformed that anguish into productivity, pushing past my desire for revenge and justice and focusing on working and tending to the land in the east. At my instruction, we have facilitated the most expansive effort in our history to not only live in harmony with the forest, but seek to improve it, healing it from the great burning 3 years ago, with the establishment under my guidance of House Thantuar and the appointment of Elena here to lead it. We have fostered relations with the tribes of wild elves in those lands and emphasized the need carefully not to too casually overstep into the lands occupied by the beasts of Chimeras. And while we work to tend our lands and our citizens, under your guidance, Erinil, the revered tradition of the Crescent Knights, even if encouraged by young Loon Song's abilities now on display, it is a tradition faded into non-existence. It is not a winning battle, that. I don't agree with the prince's reckless adventure into the outer world. However, it is undeniable that our seclusion from the rest of the world has rendered us obsolete, unable to become a player in the world's events, and forced to look onward from the sides. Now we find ourselves with a more threatening force to the north than we did before. And Prince Loonsong may have played some part in it. all of my suffering, and of many more of our people who lost loved ones in that conflict 7 years ago. And how does the young prince deal with his grief and losing his close friend, my son? Not by bettering our culture and working to lift up those in pain here at home, but by fleeing, forsaking his people and gallivanting into a foreign nation. And not only that, being involved with the conflict to the north in some way. And now, you ally with the beast folk, potentially even the bird folk clans. With this, I am truly at a loss for words, Telperion. You claim to weep, but weeping is not enough. How have you moved on so quickly from their transgressions against our populace? You betray the memory of Doran. And my frustration does not lie directly on the young and naive prince Tinufael. You claim ignorance, but I suspect Telperion left with the family's blessing in one way or another. Having refused to take action, Erinil, against the bird folk who slayed our people and my son, as I have encouraged for years now, you are an indecisive and passive leader. You have benefited our people in the past, as have we all. But Selenyx wanes on your time as Erinil. The loon songs have brought shame to the Ithinnyn, and it is time for a new Erinil to be crowned. Let it be heard hereafter, all in attendance. I hereby announce my contention. Sing out to your fellow houses and stewards. Let your words ring out to the populaces of our city, that I, Erithel Veli Mirelight, within sight and sound of Erinil Tinufael Loonsong, hereby invoke the right of Veluri Galathur. I am promised this right by our ancestors, to those whose essence you are bound, and I affirm my creed that I believe the fate of our people would be better served under my own guidance rather than yours. As is our custom, upon an announcement of contention, the Mooncrest Council shall meet under the next full moon, when the light of Selenyx is brightest. As we stand, the light of the full moon approaches a mere 2 days away, and I expect to find all of my fellow council members in attendance. We shall discuss my candidacy at that time, as well as deliberate upon a fitting sentence for the runaway child prince and his guests. Until that time, they should be sequestered and contained within the halls of Nightlamp Palace to await our conclusion. Raybella, Ezrin, to me, we retire for the night. And as this announcement has happened, more and more of an increasing volume of murmur and conversation is taking place across all the dignitaries and embassy ambassadors. Tinufael not moving, but just maintaining her composure. And some of them, in the increased commotion and the alarmed buzz of this conversation now permeates the throne hall, Erithel begins to storm off past you all toward the entrance of the throne hall, giving a glaring glance toward Telperion and a look of hatred toward Kinsalo, with his wife Raybella at his side. And as Ezrin passes you, Telperion, Doran's younger brother, some 30 years your junior or so, he strides up next to you and places a hand on your shoulder with a confused and sorrowful expression on his face. He lingers for just a moment, not even locking eyes with you, and says, I was overjoyed to hear of your return this night. But the bird folk? Maybe it would be better for you to have stayed away from home. Doran rolls in his grave this night. And Telperion, even though you passively feel the sting of Ezrin's words, your mind is no longer focused on much of your surroundings. And Tobirama, with your passive perception, as Selethar rangers and soldiers reluctantly move toward all of your party's members, grasping arms gently with the intent to guide you to separate rooms within this keep, your perception and insight flag Telperion's face in these moments. Almost entirely oblivious to the increasing volume of the commotion of those attendants in this gathering, Telperion's eyes seem to be fixed off in a direction to the right. As you follow his gaze, you notice Minerva off to the side. Her eyes are locked on Telperion, and a look of confusion increasingly crawls upon her face after a minute or so.
And then her face composes itself almost in understanding. And she nods before slinking into the corridor at her side and out of sight as you all are shepherded away by guards. And I know it's a little early, but that is where we will pause things here for this session. And not only pause things for this session, but for this group of characters. So now to a small piece of business. For the next couple of sessions, I would like to shift focus away from our campaign's main characters temporarily and toward another group of characters. I would essentially like to tackle a small side quest and have each of you build a new character, a Mooncrest elf that lives within Ithinnyn, the Moonset Grove. You guys are free to choose your class and background and determine your general build. The only requirements would be that number 1, wizard and cleric are going to be off limits. And number 2, we're all going to have to figure out a way in which you know Minerva Loon's song. And then we'll come back to this campaign's main quest as soon as this side quest concludes, which I think we're going to try and limit to like a 3-session arc. Is everyone interested and okay with doing that?
Oh yeah.
Good MK.
Oh yeah.
Are we building it up in Roll20 or in D&D Beyond?
We can figure that out. I think I would love for that to be the case, yes, but we'll work through that. But over the next 24 hours, I'm going to start texting you guys a lot because I want to help you build and get an understanding of the characters. You guys can build the class and build and background vibe however you want. I just will need to be involved to and also you can build these characters in secret if you want to reveal them to the group upon them being revealed, or you're free to converse with each other to build them together if you want to make characters in tandem in some way. But my job will be helping you fit the characters into the city's culture, like what great house you might be a part of if you're a member of a different embassy that are all in this central capital city, deciding how you want to know Minerva in some regard, or if you don't want to know Minerva, link you to another character that would be compelling. Those are really the only requirements.